Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Bulletproof Entrepreneurial Podcast. My guest today is Don Sheppard. Don is a Canadian born American entrepreneur who started his entrepreneurial journey many years ago. So he started his career working for a big corporation, and as an executive in that company, he was transferred to the United States. He ended up staying there, became a citizen in the US, and then he left to found his own company, which is Sheppard Associates. He ran Sheppard Associates for about 13 years before he eventually sold the company. And then he later, after having the entrepreneurial bug, bite him, he decided to find the LA Football Club, which helps children learn the wonderful game of football and also teaches them the valuable life skills such as leadership, teamwork, and good sportsmanship. He recently launched Sheppard Properties, which is his real estate investment company, and he's the author of the new book titled Dividends of Decency: How Value-Based Leadership Will Help Businesses Flourish in Trump's America. I'm pleased to have Don on the show today to tell us a little bit more about his life, his business, his experiences, and of course, what value-based leadership is all about. So Don, welcome to the show.
Oh, Chief, thank you. I'm so delighted to be with you today and eager to talk about my story and how it might help others. So
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure, Don. So Don, tell us a little bit about yourself. I've given a broad overview of your background, coming here to America to launch a company and just being successful. And I might add for emphasis, Don did all this, he achieved all this without the benefit or the hindrance of a college degree. So, Don, tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
It's so wonderful. And I will tell you this in summary and then start back again. It is so hard to be successful anywhere in North America today. And it requires a lot of traits and attributes I'll talk about in a bit. But let me take you way back, and then I'll come back to the college degree part. But I grew up in Sudbury. It's a mining town in northern Ontario, a tough place. And I was one of 8 children. We were basically poor. My father was a miner, but we didn't have running water and all that stuff. And it was a tough life. I decided as I was going through school, I entered the 9th grade at the age of 12. I decided I wanted out. I didn't want to be staying in a mining town, working in the mines. I wanted something better. So that strength, desire, motivation, just like a child from the inner city wanting to get out and succeed in life, that was that same motivation. So that's what got me going. And what I did is I started into a job that paid $37 a week. It was with an insurance company, but it was white collar and it was a start. And went from there. And there are certain attributes that you had to have to be successful in that arena. And I'll talk to that in a minute. But I want to just do a quick summary for you. Yeah, I didn't have a college degree. I also had no money. I had no connections. I was as a rube from Canada. But college degree. Did you know that Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and others don't have a college degree?
Yeah.
Because they don't. A survey recently said that the majority of business owners in America don't have a college degree. It's not the panacea people describe it, especially certain undergraduate degrees and certain schools. Now I have 2 children. They have undergraduate degrees from Duke and graduate degrees from Harvard. So I'm not talking about speaking against college. It's just it's not required to be successful.
Yeah.
Am I going on too much?
No. Keep going. No, you're good.
Okay. Here's the key. The first key, and that is that first job. Someone chooses to charge off and head into the working world and make something of themselves. That first job is critical. Now, I want to just add, to make something of themselves success, That means being exceptional. No one needs advice from me to be average. And like you do it all on your own. Talking about being successful. The first job, Chi, is critical. And a lot of your listeners know this. You need to get in somewhere where you can get some training, some experience that will help you go up a ladder. And that's just really, really important. Don't just take a job. I could have gone and worked in the mines. It would have paid what seemed like a lot of money at the time. You don't just want a job. You want a job. If you get paid nothing, it's okay, as long as it's providing you some skills and training so that you can grow. Here's the problem. If you take a first job that isn't going anywhere, when you want to go out and apply again for that right job, you're at the bottom of the list because what your resume says, you have no experience, you have no training, you have no college degree. It really puts you behind the eight ball. That's the first thing. Here's the next one. And when I was 17 years old and I started working, so I worked in an insurance company. I had a manager that sort of took me under his wing. I've had this good fortune through my life, but he said to me one day, Donnie, when people look at you, they can't tell how smart you are, but they can sure tell how hard you work. Work harder than anybody around you, and the smarts will come out over time. It was such critical advice, and it's not new to anyone, but here it is. Doing things that others don't want to do, can't do. The first is work harder than anybody else. It's absolutely critical, and that's the first principle. Then, as you're in work, in jobs, you need to be more important to your employer than they are to you. The reason I offer that bit of advice is that it gives you more options to be noticed, to stand out, to be a higher performer, or be a performer, period, means you need to be more important to your employer than they are to you. That was critical to me all the way through to starting my own company, literally many years later. And that just means do your work better than other people around you to the extent that you can. You need to be exceptional, and that's a critical part. And then I'm shaping up this impossible life. But the next is, don't allow others to shape your life for you. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. I know this is a common theme, follow your dream stuff. I'm being more direct. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. You control that. You control how hard you work and how good you do at your job. And anyway, I would offer that as another bit of advice. And here's the beauty of this, Chi. After you're in that first job and you're performing, for the rest of your life, no one will ever ask you about your degree and from what school and how did you do. The degree, it's only used to get into a job at the start, like my son, like my daughter. But once you're there, it's all performance. So once you get into the working world and it's performance, I mean, I ran a consulting company and worked for large consulting companies. I was in the boardrooms of the largest companies in America. No one ever asked about my academic credentials. All they wanted to know is what I could do for them. And did I do it for anybody else? How successful was that? So performance is the driver. And so those are the keys to making it without a college degree. It's really hard, and you're going to have obstacles, and you're going to have roadblocks, but it can be done. It can be done, and those are the keys to it. So I built up. Now, please interrupt me, Chi, if I'm going on too long on this story.
No problem.
I developed, first I told you, I started an insurance company. What interestingly, I developed by some good fortune being transferred to Calgary, being transferred to Toronto. This is all under the age of 20. I developed an expertise in employee benefits. That's by some good fortune, I ended up in that department in Toronto, headquarters of an insurance company. That got me into a consulting firm. and got me into an area that I could control and drive. And it was sales, basically, business development. And now I was in total control of my life because I could always be more important to my employer than they were to me. So I developed through consulting companies, ended up at a very young age in my 20s with one of the largest consulting companies in the world, and had Canada as my area. Really was successful. I wanted to prove that I was as good as anybody in the U.S. in the company, so I took a transfer to San Francisco. And there I ran the Western region, and I was able to perform in that market and do well. And so I was developing this expertise, a reputation. I left the one company, went to another in the LA area as a regional vice president in charge of employee communications, and continued that path. It came to a point when, now this is the interesting part, is I'm telling you so much more that you probably want to know, but
no, keep going. It's interesting.
There was a point, and literally I was 37 years old, and there was a point where it was about to turn. I was about to be more dependent on my employer, the consulting company, than they were on me, because I was about to get married. I was about to buy a house. I was about to have all this responsibility where their salary, what they're paying me was really important, because I was taking on all these new responsibilities. And the planets aligned, and I said to my now wife, this is it. If I don't get out and try and make a go of it on my own, I'll never be able to do it, because I'll be locked in. And that's where it was the final driver to get out and start my own company. And I started the company with no money, no real assets, just simply my reputation and the desire for hard work. And oh my goodness, that was another journey. We're all the same attributes of hard work, being better than anybody else in my field, but coming up against so many roadblocks and obstacles. There are a whole series of reasons, and I know you deal with this on a daily basis, about being successful in building a business. And they're real. I mean, I remember driving to a client to pick up a check, going straight to the bank to meet payroll, and then getting another check from another client to be able to pay off some of the expenses of the previous client. It was week to week, and your expenses always increased, but not your cash flow necessarily. And then you had to get business, you had to deliver the business, you had to get paid. Oh my goodness, what a journey! But here is the bridge to values-based leadership. When I started my own company, I was the same person that I was in a consulting company, and I don't want to sound immodest here, but I value and respect all people. I celebrate diversity. I treat everyone the same way. So I started a company and brought people in for who they were and what they could do, not by how they looked, what the cover of the book was. And I was practicing what we now label as values-based leadership by operating with integrity, having values, having standards, morals, ethics. People wanted to be part of my organization, and I made them part of I respected them. My clients, who were so important to our survival, I needed to respect them and value them so that they would stay with me. The vendors and suppliers that were part of delivery to the client, I had to respect and value them. What I'm saying is, that's values-based leadership, the win-win-win model, as I choose to call it. Understanding what causes profits, not having profits as a goal or target, but understanding that profits are a result of doing business the right way. And that's the values-based leadership part. So I built this business, ended up with 8 offices, 120 employees, really successful, growing every year, making money every year on paper, and growing. And that's what Omnicom bought in 1999, was the only company that they had that worked in the employee communications arena. But they saw 15 years of growth, 15 years of profitability. They saw structure. They saw loyal employees. They saw everybody working so hard to achieve the same goal. And that's what they bought. So that's the link, what we now call, what I choose in my book would call values-based leadership, and it's also used in university teachings. But what I adopt as the win-win-win model is that. And it's just being a good person, I believe, is critical to success in business. And I think people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Michael Bloomberg, Jeff Bezos, they've proved that.
Yeah.
Built huge organizations by being, in essence, good people and treating people right. I've gone on too long, and I don't mean to. Let me let you ask any questions.
So the question is, though, why is it that companies like, I'll use some names. I think United and Uber, because those are the two biggest ones that have really fumbled in the media recently. Why is it that, though they do have some of these terms that are close or related to value-based leadership, but they seem to be bumper sticker philosophies, for example. They don't practice what they say they're going to do. So why is it that companies like that still don't believe in doing business strictly on a value-based model?
You just said it. They don't practice what they preach. The issue is the leaders, have to already have values, have integrity. It's and if they don't, you can't write it down as a set of values, mission statement that all sounds pretty, but then don't practice it. And by the way, it's short term. Look at all the problems United's been having with their so-called dealing with their customers. Look at Uber. Oh my goodness, the difficulties they're going through. It doesn't work long term. If you don't have an organization, you'll see how they'll change leadership, and then hopefully leadership will hire more people than the right kinds of people. It really doesn't work in the long term. And it all boils down to being a good person to start with. You can't have degrees of integrity or degrees of honesty. You can't pretend to care about people. People will pick it up so fast. You can't say that you respect and value all people and then not. It's self-destructive. So you touched on it and you summarized it it's not what you say, it's what you do. It's true with all of us, right? In every part of our life, with our children, with our community. You can use all the words you want, but they're meaningless. And that's why I felt empowered to write this book. I'm not speaking as a professor or someone just making up terms or using another example. I'm talking about the real world that I've lived and how it's been translated into tremendous success in a variety of areas, including, and you did mention, doing something like doing the Ironman in Hawaii. And before I did it, I couldn't even swim a length of a pool or riding my bicycle across the country. The exact same principles at the age of 65 apply to all endeavors, not just some, right? So I'll stop. Go ahead.
Okay, so tell us about a time where, applying value-based leadership principles, though it might have been expensive to you or to your business at the time, it was the right thing to do.
I won't use the name of a company, but I will tell you the scenario. We were hired by this huge organization that had multi-disciplines and hired to talk about how they could get more unity amongst the leadership group and so on. And we go out, as we normally would do, and do interviews do focus groups, and to try and understand what the climate is. And as we went through all this process, what was clear was that the CEO of this organization literally changed direction and mindset based on how the winds were blowing. And he talked tough, but he'd talk with one leader, one division, and agree with anything they said, and so on. I'm simplifying it, but so we came back with a detailed report that we're being paid for, and once we do a report, that's the least revenue producing part of our work, because then the execution or implementation is where you make all your money. So anyways, so the point is, we came back with this report to the organization that basically said the CEO needs to change. He needs to shoot somebody in the courtyard that's not measuring up. He's not being principled. And we gave the background or reasons, and not talking about it as a criticism, talking about it as a area of correction, a course of correction that would make the company much more successful and harmonious. And we knew what the outcome was going to be, and it was, we got fired. And and probably talking $500,000 easily of fees down the road, but we got fired. But what are you about? Do you do your business to tell somebody what they want to hear, or do you do the right thing that they're hiring you to tell the truth and help them become more successful? And that's one example. And was I bothered by it? Well, sure, because we needed to make money to continue to succeed, and we would then have to replace that client. But no, doing the right thing is always the better thing. And if we had told them something that they wanted to hear, the CEO wanted to hear, nothing would have changed. There's nothing we could have done that would have improved the company. That's an example. There are plenty of them. That doing the right thing is still the right thing to do. And it may not be comfortable, and it may cost you money, may cost you a client, it may cost you a referral, but it's okay. Who are you? Who are you as a person? Is that one example that makes the point? There are many of them, but doing the right thing is never the wrong thing.
Okay, so now looking at your book, especially looking at the subtitle of your book before going into the meat of the book, you said how value-based leadership will help business flourish in Trump's America. Of course, we know since Donald Trump got elected, we've actually seen his character blown up. For his real character has been magnified. So now you know who he is. He says one thing, he does another. His discriminatory preferences are shown for the world to see and all that. And, facts and truths are not really respected anymore. And because this is coming from the White House, it's kind of setting a precedent for younger people, coming through the ranks. Because if they see that you can play fast and loose with the truth and facts, then what's the point of maintaining principles, ethics, morals, all the things we were taught in civics class or philosophy and all that stuff, all those things are going to gradually start eroding. We might not see it now, but children see, and young people are very impressionable. And once they see that, you can do anything and get away with it, then why should we still hold on to, things like ethics, morality, and principles and values,
Oh, gee, that's so well stated, and that's why I wrote the book. I woke up the day after the election, and this is not right, and I was worried about that exact issue. And then, in my book, goes into great length to say, you need to understand. First of all, Trump's not. I'm not political here. I'm just talking about values. Trump is not a successful businessman, first of all. He's just not. It's all a sham, and he's certainly not a good person. And look at what it's done. Look, the track record. And what I'm trying to say is, no. and there are companies, whether it be Enron or Lehman Brothers or Volkswagen, that have really gone off the rails because of not doing the right thing. But and that's one example. But then look at all the examples of where it's working. You'll have more success through values-based leadership, having integrity, having values, morals, ethics, and that's what we have to say. The book is getting tremendous reaction, and I've had some op-eds covered. It's been great, but the reason is people want this message. Yeah, it's a message of hope and saying, my goodness, we need. We need to stay with our principles. Look what's happening in the elections, the special elections, what's coming up in November. The young people in particular who haven't been voting, look at them stepping up in all these movements. And from the Women's March to the Me Too, to the Never Again, to the Enough is Enough, and so on. People are standing up and saying, no, no, we want ethics, integrity to guide our government and our world. So, in fact, I think we're going to have a better world as a result of so many people stepping up and saying no, no. And but you hit on it. You know, it scared me and it scares others. Is this the norm? Does this guy get away with being above the law? Does he get away with hiring or bringing all these people on board in his cabinet that are not the most ethical? No. The answer is no. And that's what you and I need to say. Not being critical, saying, here's a solution. And that is, if you are this kind of person, with values, stick with it. Be principled. It'll work long term. Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed the worry that is in the minds of so many people. Not everybody, but enough people that will make a difference.
Yeah. So you just have to basically be courageous to stand on the grounds of the truth, and you know what?
There it is.
Fight on the side of truth and justice. Yeah.
There it is.
Nice. Nice. So as we start to transition towards the end of the show, I mentioned earlier that you are founder and president of the LA Football Club, and I know you got into football, because of your son when he was young at the time. But coming from Canada, which is a hockey country, and American football, how did you develop the passion for soccer after taking your kid? Because usually you just take your kid, you watch and then go, but you took it on to being something else, and then you decided to start an organization to bring other kids together and train them, not just in the principle of football, but in essential life skills so that they can use, principles that they learn on the pitch to apply into their daily lives off the pitch.
It was so life-changing for me. Yeah, I didn't know soccer from anything. But my two children got into it in AYSO, and I got involved, and I saw some amazing inequities. And it was that soccer, especially club soccer, is a pay-to-play level, and it was largely, and don't take this wrong, white suburban kids whose families had enough money to pay $2,000 a year to let them belong to a club. And it was the clubs that universities and colleges went to offer scholarships to kids. It's where the U.S. national program went to find kids to be part of the national team. And as I was seeing this very early on, this is wrong. We can't deny people opportunity simply because of money. So when I started the LAFC, from ground zero, I said, money is not going to be a reason to deny a child an opportunity. And so it cost me a lot of money, but it was money well spent because I wanted, most of these kids, you know the story, 99%, that's probably too low. Will never be professional. They'll never make money at it. But they can use it to get an education. First of all, we used it to say to a child, if you can make a team, you're on the team, regardless of your money. But also, you need to keep up your schooling. We say to parents, if they're not focusing on their education, we don't want them because they're showing that they don't have enough discipline to be good at this. So you just said it. I won't repeat it, but it's helping kids learn life values of hard work and discipline to get through. But I wanted to get more of them into college. Okay. I wanted more of them to be focused on it and give them visibility. And it was so successful. And it was, and continues. I'll literally be stopped on a street somewhere, and it'll be one of those kids who's now an adult. They're going to college or working, and thanking me, or a parent. Yeah. It was so gratifying. It was simply a matter of giving back. Yeah. I was successful in what I did in building up a business, but I needed to give back. There are too many people who didn't have opportunity, and that's what I used soccer to do. Now, I'll just tell you one story. Yes. I became passionate about the game because I traveled the world in my soccer development and developed a partnership with Chelsea, for example, in England and Premier League. I went to Inter Milan. I went to South America. I went to Africa. Nice. And I got to learn the game and the beauty of the game. But here's what I learned the most that was so powerful. Soccer, football in most of the world, is an international language. Anywhere, and this is the honest to God truth, I go to rural Africa, where I went many, many times because they do philanthropy there, and I would wear my Chelsea shirt. And anywhere, instant conversations and rivalries, and always in the most wonderful ways. I've sat in darkened rooms where a television is run by a generator to show the Community Shield game or a EPL game, and people come up in my face and yelling at me because they're a Man United fan. But not in a. It was wonderful. Yeah. Have passion about your team. Nobody was ever going to hurt me. Nobody was going to. It was just, and I would go back at it, and I loved it. I just loved it. Anywhere in the world, I've gone to major clubs and soccer competitions. I love the game and the beauty of the game and what it is for the common person. It's like basketball in America. Yeah. It's the sport, because soccer is a sport that everybody speaks. And I love the fact that anywhere, the common language at any level was soccer. So I'm sorry for going on in that.
No, that's fine, because that even reminds me of my hometown in Lagos, Nigeria, where soccer is a big thing in Nigeria too. But I remember, even this is just last year, like I was driving from cutting my hair, and then I saw people gathered around just on the highway watching a small TV. And guess what happened? People in Range Rovers and other type of car, Hondas, they just parked and they all came and stood on the highway watching this little man's TV.
Yep. It's so wonderful. There's no wars or killings around. I mean, there's exceptions, but all those people in Lagos that stopped on the road, it's through a love of soccer and the common theme they had with everybody. Yeah. It brought everybody to the same level. Yeah. That's it. I love it. And so it gave me a vehicle to give back to thousands of kids and make a difference. And
So what's the dream for the organization, as well as your next adventure? What do you plan for LA Football Club for the next 5, 10, 20 years?
I had to be brutally honest with you. I had to turn over control of the club to my board at the time, because of some difficulties with some not not people with integrity or ethics, and that were so envious and jealous of what I was doing that so the bottom line is I gave up my involvement in the club, and I'd spent literally millions of real dollars.
Yes.
But I had to get out because my staying there was like a lightning rod, and it was bringing way too much conflict that hurt children and coaches. I had a man who, in fact, was from Africa who said to me one time, and I was in a battle for the club against a major league that was trying to do harm to us. And he said to me in this big meeting I had, he said, you know, when two elephants battle, it's the grass that suffers. And it stuck with me as I went on. Yeah, I'm standing up for principle and I'm going to take them on, I'm going to win. But along the way, what harm am I doing to these children and coaches and families by making them a target as well? And it's another example of what you were asking about earlier. So I couldn't allow the grass to be trampled. And so I moved on. But the impact I had was tremendous and ongoing. And anyway,
I can still hear the passion in your voice, and I hope you are able to at least still, maintain that interest and maybe channel your energies into another organization that could use your experience in this industry.
Oh, I am. Yeah. I am. In fact, I have major involvement philanthropic with a girls' school in Kenya.
Okay.
Anyway, I won't even go on. And yes, the answer is yes. I'm applying the same desire to help and give back in other ways.
Great. Well done, my friend. We've reached the end of the show. But before I let you go, tell us about where people can find you, get in touch with you, buy the book, and of course, learn more about your adventures.
Thank you. Well, easy way to find me is at my website, DonSheppard.com, where Sheppard is SHEPPARD, DonSheppard.com. In the book, I really hope people, all levels of experience, will go and check out the book on my website, go and buy it. I know they'll love it, and they can do it directly at Amazon. They can go to their local bookstore in order, which is a nice thing to do to support local bookstores. And if they do like it, I'd really want people to spread the word like you're doing today. And so Dividends of Decency, Donald Lee Sheppard at Amazon, or go to your local bookstore. I really hope people will support the message. I know they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I'll put a link to everything you've just mentioned in the show notes once the episode is live and published. So with that said, Don, thanks for coming on the show to share your story, your words of wisdom, your advice, and of course, to tell us more about applying value-based principles, especially as you've codified in your book, Dividends of Decency. We wish you continued success in everything you're doing, and I look forward to meeting you someday soon and talking more about football.
I hope so too. Gee, thank you for this opportunity. You're making a big difference in the entrepreneurial world. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the show today. If you love what you hear on today's episode of the podcast, go to iTunes and leave a review and a comment. It helps other great listeners like yourself find the show. And of course, you can always find more episodes of the Bulletproof Entrepreneur Podcast at www.odogwu.com.